Boom, back in the room. So this is my second StreamYard episode. It's asking me if I want to pay subscription. It's $25. $25 for a month. Do you know how many? I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example because I don't drink beers anymore. Do you know how many club sodas? Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? Do you know how many hot dogs I could buy? No, that doesn't work. I don't think anything works as well as how many beers could I buy with that? How many bags of drugs could I buy with that $24, $25? Anyway, let's try a story this time. How I was spiked. I'd say one morning, let's say it was a 5 a.m. and I was in Boy Vien. At the front of Boy Vien or the back of Boy Vien, depending on your arse from your elbow, it depended on what side of the street you entered. Let's say the side of Boy Vien that's next to the police station, that has a police station on it. Across the road from that, on one side is a bar that's usually full of Africans, and we used to call it just the African bar. And right opposite was this little cafe / restaurant that's open 24 hours that just has all these plastic chairs. I wouldn't even know the name of it. I don't even know if it had a fucking Western name. It was a Vietnamese place. And inevitably, all the hardcore addicts and alcoholics would end up there at 4, 5 a.m. I would start filling up at about 3 a.m. because all the other places would be emptied. And so you'd find yourself sitting around on these plastic chairs. Some people you'd know because they're the same as you. And then a lot of the time they'd be just drifters. And there was a little area where you could have a little dance. And they would sell drinks at reasonable prices. And so it ticked all the boxes. So where else would you want to be if you were an absolute lunatic at 6 a.m? Staring across the road as the Africans who were up to the same kind of shenanigans, surrounded by fast motorbikes, prostitutes, although you wouldn't say that they were prostitutes. They would just walk up and down the street and look at you funny, maybe wink and nod suggestively. What else would you have? The tourists, the backpackers, and then all the Vietnamese that are applying their trade. 24 hours a day, that place never sleeps. So there's every Tom, Dick, and Harry out of Ho Chi Minh is down there trying to make a few bob for himself. And I had become part of the furniture. Might be another way of saying it. I was like a plastic chair. At 6 a.m. after Monday rolled into Tuesday, after Tuesday rolled into Wednesday, after Wednesday rolled into Thursday. And what I mean is, we had the prostitutes buying our crystal meth. That was the way that you could do it at the time. Either that or you give Ruby, who was the only drug dealer in Boy Vien, she had a monopoly. And you could give Ruby a ring and she'd have a motorbike right at the front door, like Domino's Pizza. Ruby, can I have a bag of... And here, on top of that, the fucking bar itself was selling drugs over the counter. So it's an absolute paradise for a drug fiend. And this particular morning, I had just used again. And for anybody out there that knows, when you're taking a substance that's as powerful as meth, you're just not going to be feeling drunk anymore. Or if you were feeling very drunk, you might have 1 or 2 toots off a pipe, and before you know it, you're as straight as fucking, what is it? Freddie Mercury's doppelganger, let's say. You're as straight as that. You're as straight as a pole. I don't know what the expression would say. So there's no way I could have fallen asleep off my own accord Let's put it that way. I wasn't the kind of person to do that. I never got dribbly drunk or fall down unconscious from drink or drugs or anything else. I had the opposite problem. I would have to gobble Valiums before I could get any shut-eye. For 1 minute, I'm sitting there surrounded by all the lunatics, and the next minute, I open my eyes and I'm on the roof of a building. I didn't know where I was or what I was doing. I was on a ledge on the roof of a building, looking down at the street below. And I looked to my left, and there was a guy holding my left hand. And I looked to my right, and there was another guy holding my right hand. And immediately upon me realizing where I was, these two men pulled me back in off the ledge. And very quickly I came to my senses. What the fuck? I was just sitting at a bar, and now I'm on a ledge on the top of a building. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? How did I get here? Now, the two men who had been holding my arms were fucking Durka Jihad. They're not speaking any English. And they immediately dragged me down the stairs. At some point, they would have put the handcuffs on me. And then at some point, I would have realized, or they told me, that they were policemen. And then at some point, even after that, they said that they were called to the bar because I was suicidal. They were called to the bar because I allegedly got myself up off the plastic chairs, walked to a hotel I didn't even know at the time, found the fucking doors, the steps going up, and went upstairs onto this rooftop and was apparently trying to kill myself when these two men, like knights in shining armor, grabbed me off the ledge. Now, I don't know, is it a crime to commit suicide? Obviously, it's a crime to commit suicide. Were they going to charge me with attempted suicide? Is that what they were trying to do? I had no idea. I knew I had a tiny bit of drugs in my wallet, right? And I was racked with the idea, if I swallow these drugs right now, I'll regret it when they put me in the cell. If I hold on to the drugs until I get to the police station, they might open the wallet, find the drugs, and keep me in the cell for even longer. And I'm sure I wouldn't be the first addict to ever have this problem. To try and decide, do I A, throw the drugs out the window, B, swallow them now and risk an overdose, or C, just see if I can get away with it, and maybe they don't even check my wallet. And sure enough, now I'm not 100% was it in my wallet or was it just loose in my pocket. I remember I was in the cell and I was happy as Larry because I realized I still had, at the very least, I still had enough drugs to keep me going for the next few hours. I didn't have alcohol, but I thought maybe they'd give me water. But with the drugs, at least I knew I'd be able to sit there and at least be stimulated from whatever the fuck narcotic I had in my pocket. I did not realize that they were going to handcuff me to the railings of the cell for multiple hours. I don't know, 5, 6, 7 hours, let's say. In the course of this, the police in the police station on Vien, opposite the fucking spastic bar with the drugs, where they sell drugs over the counter, who must have been in on the spiking in the first place, right? The very same policeman who spiked me, because I know that the only way that a bar like that selling drugs over the counter could exist across the road from a police station is if the police station is in on the take. And the only way that I could have been spiked, because let's say a beautiful woman is not going to spike me, and no man is going to spike me either. I spiked myself, thank you very much. And I didn't spike myself because I'm not in the business of spiking myself with a drug so powerful it would knock me out. So it must have been that the police had told the owners of the bar to watch out for me because I was on their shit list. And I'll tell you more about gang stalking later. Just to say, the establishment would have said, that fat, stupid Irishman is here, Send one of your undercover guys over, and we'll give you the heads up. When he goes into the jacks, you can spike his drink. So fast forward a couple of hours later, after they take me off the roof, and I presume are about to charge me with attempted suicide or whatever other charges they can throw my way. They're sitting at the entrance drinking beer and laughing at a distance of maybe like 4 or 5 meters, and I'm handcuffed to the bars like this, and I don't give a fuck because I've after taken the drugs that were in my pocket. So I'm laughing with them. They're laughing at me, and I'm laughing with them. At one stage, they took a crate of beer and sat very close, almost within arm's length, and laughed even harder because they knew I was desperate for a drink. In the midst of this, what could be described as the worst 4, 5, 6 hours of my life, although no, I've had worse periods. They opened the cell, and a few of the police, maybe one was uniformed. Definitely one was uniformed. 2 were plainclothes. They brought in a young girl, maybe 20-something years old, quite attractive, right? And handcuffed her within arm's length of me, so that we could, if we wanted to, we could actually kiss. And we did kiss. And they must have known that would happen. I don't know how they'd know that if they put the girl that here within arm's length, that I would try and kiss her, or that she would try and kiss me. I don't know how that happened, or how it came about that I asked her for a kiss. I can't fucking remember, but we did kiss. And then pretty soon after we kissed and we had a connection, they uncuffed the girl and beat the shit out of her in front of me. No word of a lie. And I'm handcuffed like this, and I'm like, what the fuck? I remember her story. She told me she had been arrested because she didn't pay the fucking 10 cents in the public toilets in the local park. So they got her for hopping the turnstile. That was her alleged crime. And they beat her up for that. Eventually, a plainclothes officer came into my cell and explained to me that I was in a lot of trouble. And he said to me he knew where I lived. And he said that he wanted to go to my house with me so that I could get my passport. And I said, no, that's okay. I don't want to do that. And he said, you're in a lot of trouble. And then I said, for what exactly? And he said, you bring me to your house and show me your passport and I'll tell you. And I said, no, I just told you that that's not something that I'm willing to do. I am not going. You've already said that you know where I live, so why don't you just go out there and fucking kick the door down? If you've already spiked my drink and beat the shit out of a woman, what would stop you from just kicking my door in and taking whatever the hell you wanted? Bizarre. I still didn't understand what was going on. Only that I was on the shit list, and I'll tell you more about that later. He went off anyway. And he came back a while later and then he said, we're not pressing charges, you're free to go. And I remember I came out of that station, I walked straight across the road to the exact same bar that I was pretty sure was in on the spiking, and I sat down and ordered a drink. Right next to Alex, my drinking partner, who barely even noticed my absence. I was gone for like 7 hours. He presumed I just went off to fucking score drugs or something. And when I told him the story, he didn't believe me. And I can see this is about to finish 14 minutes. Alex passed away. I might send this link on to Patrick, because he'd know the very same bar. I met Patrick for the very first time in the fucking African bar across the road from this place. Alex didn't survive. He died on the back of a drug debt. But after one rollover turned into another rollover, he must have had about 8 or 9 rollovers. He hadn't slept in weeks. And apparently he owed money to the point where his debt collectors found him one night and dragged him down a side street. They beat him black and blue, and he made his way back to his girlfriend at the time. And his body must have been so worn out from all the drinking and drugging that he died in his sleep as a result of the beating. So R.I.P. to Alex. I'm glad I got that off my chest. Now I'm going to wonder, will I pay the $25 for the subscription and tell you some more stories